Greetings, guys. I hope you're good today. Today we're going to be having a look at the dollar index. So let's get straight into it. So as you can see, guys, I have the monthly chart open, and one of the first things that I can see already is that we have this area over here, which is a very strong area of resistance, and that is because of the fact that we had a touch here, a touch there, and a third touch on this particular area. So what normally happens, or as retail traders, as we've been taught, whenever we have three touches at a very important line, we have been taught that on the third touch, that's when we would be looking for selling opportunities. And I can tell you now that given this entire area that I've just drawn, which is this resistance area, a lot of people, or rather a lot of investors and traders, sold on the third touch of price hitting this area over here, which is an area of resistance. So let's continue. So before I actually continue, I'm just going to mark that area so that we don't forget about it, because it's a very significant area. Just bear with me. Let's see. I'll just mark it in this manner. There we go. Right, so let's continue. Another thing that I see is that the reason for this particular move over here is that price had created this particular candlestick, which is a bullish candlestick with a small body and a long upper wick. So what this meant is that at this level over here, where this candlestick ends, there was a whole lot of liquidity sitting there, which explains why we actually saw this move. It was actually a stop hunt, because what actually happened is an M formation had formed, and we know that when M formations form, what normally happens is a lot of traders and investors would sell on the second leg of that M formation. Hence, we saw price coming to the neckline and then going back again to that level for the third time to trigger all those stop losses that are just above that information. And that's what we actually saw happening with this move over here. Nonetheless, let us continue. So what else do we see on this particular chart that is interesting or significant? Another thing that I see is that we had a W formation in this region. Let me actually draw it, just bear with me. So we had this W formation over here with the neckline being in this region. However, we never got to see price come back to the neckline to retest it, which is where we would have looked for further buying opportunities. What I'm going to do now actually is just add a neckline to that W structure. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. Here we go. Here's our W structure, and that's our neckline. So what may happen is that as much as we have the first touch there, second touch there, and a third touch there, and that the anticipation is that price should move to at least somewhere here, we might see price actually bouncing at this level because of this W structure and the fact that price broke the neckline but did not come back to retest that neckline before pushing up. So that's one of the things that may also happen, and we need to keep that in the back of our minds. Hence, we've drawn this little area of support, or the neckline of this W formation. Okay, let's continue. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting or significant? I don't seem to see anything further. So what I'm going to do right now is head over to the weekly chart. Okay, so here we are on the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, I see a whole lot of W formations. We spoke about this W formation with a neckline being there. On the monthly chart, there's another W formation in this area with a neckline being there. We never got to see price coming back to retest the neckline before coming back, in which case we would have looked for buying opportunities in this region. um, Also, even above this W formation that I speak about, we also have, or rather had this candlestick over here, which is a bearish candlestick with a small body and a long lower wick. As you know by now, guys, what this tells us is that we have a whole lot of liquidity sitting there, and that price has to come to this level actually at some point, to grab that liquidity. Also, can you see that where we have this liquidity area, it's also the neckline of this W formation that we just spoke about. So what I'm going to do now actually is add the Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if the neckline actually aligns with any of the key areas. Just bear with me. Let's see. Okay, so there goes our Fibonacci tool. Unfortunately, none of the key areas are in alignment with the neckline or this candlestick that we spoke about, which has a whole lot of liquidity sitting there. So we can just remove this Fibonacci retracement tool and just disregard it. Nonetheless, let us keep moving forward. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting? At this point, I don't see anything else. I'm gonna head over to the daily chart. However, before I do so, let me just point out one other thing on the weekly chart. So as much as we have this W formation as well, and the neckline being there, and that we're anticipating that price should come at least to this level, where we might look for possible buying opportunities again. Um, as I said earlier, when we have W formations, a lot of people or a lot of investors and traders would buy based on the second leg of that W, meaning that they would put their stop losses below here. So we may find that in this particular situation, or in regards to this W structure, a whole lot of traders and investors bought in this region, and put their stop losses just below, and others bought once again on the break of this neckline and put their stop losses just below here. So it may happen that, let me just clear my board. It may happen that price actually does not bounce at this level, but actually goes further down to stop hunt all those stop losses that are trapped at this region, and maybe that's when we might see price going up again. Nonetheless, let's keep going forward. From here, I'm going to head to the daily chart. Okay, so here we are on the daily chart. What do we see on the daily chart? So the first thing that I'm going to do on the daily chart is actually add my daily channel. Just bear with me. Let's see. So there goes my channel. Just remember that in regards to channels, we just need to ensure that they are as accurate as can be, just to ensure that our analysis is as perfect as can be as well, or rather our execution is as perfect as can be. So there goes our daily channel. We can see that at this point over here, the channel failed to hold price as price was heading up, and it got broken. We saw price coming back to the channel to retest it again. And what we may see happen next is price may actually keep heading up. Nonetheless, let's continue. So what else do we see on this particular daily chart of the dollar index, which is important or significant? Another thing which is very interesting or important is that we had an overextended formation in this region, with the neckline being there. And as I said, guys, we saw price bouncing at this particular channel, which we drew, or which we have drawn on the daily chart. So what may happen is price may head back to the neckline to retest it and then push further down, right? However, I don't like, to be honest, these particular formations where we have a, for example, an M formation with a neckline being there, and we also have a channel which is actually a very strong area of support if you think about it, um, where these two formations are so close to each other. Because, as I said, guys, with regards to M formations, we'd love to see price come back to the neckline to retest it and then push further down. However, this neckline is too close, in my opinion, to this particular channel. So it's going to be tricky. I would not do anything, to be honest, at this point, in as far as buying or selling goes. I'd rather wait for price to actually close below this particular channel and go back to retest it, which is where I would look for possible selling opportunities. I think that would be the better trade as opposed to forcing things and having higher chances of things going wrong. So, nonetheless, let us continue. So, what I'm going to do right now actually is just add a small little neckline to that M structure, just so that we don't forget about that M structure. And I'm going to make it a different color as well. I hope my lines are not confusing, but nonetheless, let us keep going. So there we go. Over and above that M structure, we also have a W structure in this region with the neckline being there. Price broke the neckline and then came back to retest the neckline, and then we saw it going up again. So we can disregard this W formation at this point. Nonetheless, we need to remember that there's a very strong area of support at this level because it is the neckline of this W structure. And we saw price bouncing there and then also bouncing here a few times. So we might see a third bounce at this point where price comes back to retest this area and then maybe push up again. So we just need to keep that in the back of our minds. I don't see anything else really on this particular chart that is interesting or of value. So what I'm going to do now is head over to the H4 chart. So here we are on the H4 chart. The first thing that I'm going to do actually is just fix my lines just to make sure that everything's in order. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. There we go. Actually, let me just move it further down. Okay. Let's see. Just bear with me, guys. Okay, that should be fine. That should be fine. That should be fine. So let's continue. So here we are on the H4 chart. The first thing that I'm going to do on this chart is add my H4 channel as well. Just bear with me. Here we go. And another thing is that I'm just going to make it a different color. I'm just going to make it a different color so that it stands out from the channel that we drew on the daily chart. Just bear with me, guys. Here we go. There we go. So there goes our H4 channel. So the first thing that I can see in regards to this H4 channel is that we seem to have an inverted head and shoulders pattern taking place in this manner. However, it is still very much in development. It has not yet been confirmed. with the neckline being in this region, with this being the left shoulder, this being the head, and the right hand shoulder, it seems is still very much in development. And as I said, the neckline would be in this area. So what I said earlier, guys, is that we have that huge structure, that huge M structure, with a neckline which is in this region. So for this particular reason, I would not be looking to buy or sell in as far as this particular instrument goes, because you can't have an M formation like this with a neckline being there and at the same time have an opposing inverted head and shoulders pattern in this manner with a neckline also being in more or less the same area. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can't be buying or selling in this particular area. So as I said, guys, what I would do actually is I would wait for price to, just bear with me, I would wait for price to just close below that daily channel that I spoke about, and then wait for it to go back to the channel to retest it, and then look for further selling opportunities. Or if price closes above, just bear with me. Let me just grab my drawing tool. Or if this inverted head and shoulders pattern actually happens and the neckline is there, I would wait for price to close above this neckline and then come back to the neckline to retest it, and I would look for further buying opportunities at this point. But as I said, guys, at this point in time, I would not do anything. So let me just go back to the daily chart just to recap a bit. So on the daily chart, we said that, let me just grab my drawing tool. Okay, just bear with me. Okay, here's my drawing tool. So on the daily chart, we said that it's probably best to wait for price to close below this channel, and then wait for it to go back to the channel to retest it. And this is where we would look for further selling opportunities, and our take profit would be this area over here, which is the neckline of that huge W structure that we spoke about earlier. So that is it, guys, in as far as the dollar index is concerned. I hope this makes sense. I hope my drawings were not too confusing. If you have any further questions, just let me know. If there are any other charts that you would like me to have a look at, just let me know. Peace, guys, and thank you for watching. Cheers.